Hey guys, Ben Beck here for the Next Level Showcast on Next Level Radio. I'm going to keep this short and sweet as best as I can. First off, my apologies for this podcast taking pretty well long to come up. Had a lot of editing I had to do and a lot of stuff in real life that I just had to fit the editing in as best as I could. Special thanks to Derrick T. Lewis for coming out, buddy of mine for a long time. Filled in for Adam, who was on vacation down in Disney World for the week. But Derrick did a great job. Be sure to check out his website, www.derricktlewis.com. Make sure you check out our website, www.nextlevelradioonline.com. Follow us and show us a like on Facebook, www.facebook.com/nextlevelradioonline. Follow us on Twitter, obviously, at NXT Level Radio. And be sure to check out Derrick's radio show premiering on March 4th on Blog Talk Radio. You can find all the information for that on his website. Once again, thank you for listening and enjoy. All right, everybody, it is Sunday night, which means it is time for another Next Level Showcast show on Next Level Radio. I am Ben Beck, as always, every Sunday, and ordinarily at this time I would say I'm joined by my co-host Adam. However, Adam is on vacation. He's doing it up in Disneyland with his wife. But I am joined tonight by a co-host of mine, a friend of mine, my buddy Derrick. My buddy Derrick is here with me tonight. He's going to be joining me. Say hey, Derrick.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing out there?
We're going to do things as usual. Nothing is really going to change with the exception of no Adam, just Derrick.
I really can't feel his shoes, but, my feet are too big to fill his shoes, so.
Everything works out right.
Exactly.
We're not trying to fill anybody's shoes or anything like that, so.
No.
All right, we're going to get things started right away. We're going to do things just the same way we always do, and that means we're going to start off with the box office. Ordinarily, I turn this over to Adam, but tonight I'm going to be handling the helm when it comes to the segments and such. So, starting off tonight, we have at the box office for this past weekend. Number one, I knew it was going to happen. Number one, again, for I believe the third week in a row, is the Lego Movie. $49.8 million. It's still a hell of a take for a third week.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's killing into the box office. 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is insane.
It's a fantastic. I still haven't seen it. I still need to see it. Number two, About Last Night. That's the Kevin Hart movie, and Regina. I think of her last name. I know her first name's Regina. Regina King. That's it. Yeah, Kevin Hart, Regina King. Kevin Hart given the NAACP for Actor of the Year. Recent. He's having a hell of a year, man.
Absolutely, man.
He's having a fantastic year. Number 3 at the box office, RoboCop, followed by number 4, The Monuments Men. Number 5, Endless Love. Number 6, Ride Along, another Kevin Hart movie. He's got 2 in the top 10.
Imagine that, right?
And this goes to show you how well he's actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
Where else was I? Number 7, Winter's Tale. Number 8, still in the top 10, Disney's Frozen. Still pulled off $6.2 million. Number 8, and it's just, man, that's insane. Number 9, Lone Survivor. That's still in the top 10. And number 10, rounding out the top 10, That Awkward Moment, which is the Zac
Efron.
Yeah,
movie. Zac Efron movie.
Coming soon, next week. The only movie really coming out this coming Friday is Non-Stop, which is the Liam Neeson on a plane movie. Liam Neeson's a badass, though. I wouldn't want to mess with him. That's it for the box office. Moving on to new releases coming out for this week. Couple new releases coming out this week to DVD. Nothing video game-wise. As I always say, you won't really see that stuff until March. The new releases coming out this week. Nebraska, which is one of the Oscar-nominated movies that is coming out in the Oscar, that will be up for the Best Picture next week on the Oscars. Coming out on DVD. as well as Gravity, another Oscar-nominated movie. And the one I'm looking forward to the most is Thor: The Dark World, for all those comic book movie nerds out there, in which I am one. I am not ashamed to admit. I believe that is pretty much it when it comes to box office and when it comes to box office and DVD releases. Before we take the first break, just want to let you know, as a reminder, check out nextlevelradioonline.com. It's a nice little hub to everything that we have. You can check out our Facebook page. You can check out our Twitter handle. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. And the one thing you probably can't hear on our webpage is the neighbor vacuuming upstairs. I don't know. Can you hear that?
I can hear it loud and clear.
Yeah,
they can clean the carpet, and they can clean the carpet down here too.
That'd be awesome if a webpage could do that.
Imagine that.
That'd be awesome if a webpage could do that. All right, so we are going to take the first break. We got through that pretty quick, but we're going to take the first break, and we will be back with some topics to talk about, next level news, and the typical entertainment stuff. So stay tuned. We will be back in a few minutes.
As Mr. Sloman always says, there's no I in team, but there is an I in pie. There's an I in meat pie. So the anagram of meat is team. I don't know what he's talking about. Look, that's it.
All right, we are back from that music break. Back in the Next Level Showcast on Next Level Radio. Once again, as I said before, Adam is on vacation, but I am joined by my friend Derrick Lewis. We went through the box office. We did typical stuff from the box office. Upcoming releases as well. But you know what? I figured there's one thing we should talk about tonight, basically because Derrick is a huge wrestling fan, like myself. Derrick and I could pretty much have conversations about wrestling all damn day.
And all year.
Yeah, and they would go... We've had conversations that have gone on for like hours.
Absolutely.
We've gone to events together and things like that. But there's one big thing that's happening tomorrow. Most wrestling fans will know about it already because they're probably... Their fingers are itching because they're already ready, just like I am. WWE tomorrow launches at 9 a.m. the WWE Network. For those of you that don't know what the WWE Network is, if you're a wrestling fan, you've been living under a rock. If you're not a wrestling fan, it might interest you, it might not. WWE Network is the WWE's way of pretty much giving the wrestling fans an all-access pass to everything. It's going to be a 24-hour network. They're going to show live. They're going to show shows just like scheduled, just like it was on TV. But you're going to have access to... I think almost every pay-per-view WWE has ever put out.
Not only WWE, but we're talking about ECW and the old NWA WCW. So for those wrestling fans that want to watch, I don't know, Halloween Havoc 92, it's on there. If you want to watch ECW Barely Legal, their first pay-per-view, it's on the WWE Network.
Well, do you, out of all the networks, of all the pay-per-views that are going to be on the network, do you have one in particular that you know that it would be your first one you would go to?
It's a toss-up, and I got to be honest with you. It's non-WWE related, though. It would have to be something from WCW.
See, I was never a big WCW fan. I never really got into it. My first taste of WCW was a bad taste. The first view, I don't know if this is a story I've even ever told you before. Out of all the stories we've shared before, there was one time that I tuned into WCW just to see what it was like. And the first thing I saw within the first 5 minutes of watching was Hulk Hogan helping someone put handcuffs on him. I don't know if it was a bad camera shot or the cameraman caught it at a bad time, but there was somebody who was supposed to be handcuffing Hogan to the turnbuckle, and the camera caught him helping.
Well, that's bad production.
Yeah.
Of all the millions of dollars they were using to produce. But, like, for me, I go back, and I go back to wrestling in the early 80s when it was the Georgia Championship Wrestling and the Mid-Atlantic kind of merged. You know what I mean? It was Georgia, then they had some Mid-Atlantic in the mid-80s, and I was able to look at the forming of the Horsemen and the forming of, obviously Dusty Rhodes and having the feud with Ric Flair. And, the list goes on. And obviously in 87, when Jim Ross and all those guys from UWF, Mid-South Championship Wrestling comes over, Dr. Death, Steve Williams, Sting, you know what I mean? And so I got to see the evolution of the NWA, which turned into eventually WCW, so I couldn't turn away. But to me, I want to see Halloween Havoc 93 with the Texas Death Match with Cactus Jack and Big Van Vader, because they beat the living hell out of each other.
Well, just the two people that you mentioned, I can only imagine that's hell.
This is before, and ladies and gentlemen, this is before Mick Foley was, doing, this is before C4 Explosions in Japan. He wasn't doing this yet, but Cactus Jack was taking some crazy bumps. And they, like I said, they beat the crap out of each other. So that'll be one of the many, long lost pay-per-views that I'll be definitely checking out on the network, because again, any wrestling fan, I don't care if you kind of turned away, and the usual response I get to some wrestling fans that don't watch anymore. Oh, after Steve Austin and The Rock left, I don't want to watch it anymore. Well, me, I stuck around because I knew they were building new stars and building new wrestlers and things like that, and the product has gotten better and better over the years. So even if you don't watch the product now, if you want to relive your childhood, your teenage years, your college years, before marriage or whatever it is, check out the WWE Network. And I believe, like I said, it's $9.99 a month. So just think about
it's a 6 months commitment. So I think you're paying $60 up front, but you're getting it for 6 months, and it still equals out to $9.99 a month.
It's amazing. And you talk about you paying. You don't even have to go anywhere to watch. You can access it via your smartphone, your laptop, a tablet,
Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4.
So they really went about it the right way. And I know this network was supposed to launch a couple of years ago, but I think they were having problems selling the network to different carriers and things like that. I think they were having an issue as far as whether the level of commitment as far as being able to carry the channel or whatever it is. Because I thought if it would have been a great channel to have, then obviously being able to do news reports and things like that, or whatever the case, and maybe they can actually do house shows. I remember as a kid, me living in North Jersey, they used to have the house shows from Madison Square Garden on Madison Square Garden Network every single month live. So I got to experience that, and I was thinking, well, man, if this WWE Network happens, maybe we can get live events and maybe make the title changes mean more when they're happening on the road. Because you rarely see that happen anymore.
Well, I think initially when this was supposed to come out last year, I think that's exactly what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a channel that was on. It was supposed to be provided to you by your cable provider.
Exactly.
It wasn't going to be an all-digital channel like this one.
Right.
And I'm kind of glad they went the road that they did now with this all-digital thing. Because like I said, I was telling you earlier, I got rid of my cable. So if they had launched, they made the announcement of the WWE Network literally probably about a week after I got rid of my cable. So before I knew that this was going to be an all-digital format that was available on tablets and everything else, I was kind of getting a little disappointed that now they're finally announcing the network, and now I'm not going to be able to get it because I got rid of my cable. And I don't want to get my cable back just because I want to watch WWE Network. But now I can pay this flat fee just to get the WWE Network, and I could watch it for hours and hours on end. And
well, let's be honest. They knew you were getting rid of your cable.
And that's why they did it.
They said, Ben is going to get rid of his cable, and God dang it, man, we're going to go ahead. We're going to launch this network for smartphone.
We're going to lose this customer if we don't do this another different way.
But you want to know something too? The crazy thing about it is that by these networks not offering the WWE Network, Dish Network isn't going to be showing the pay-per-view tonight.
Yeah, I heard.
So I think that I don't know if they're being spiteful. Not WWE, but I'm talking about some of the carriers are being spiteful by not showing because of the revenue they could potentially lose, because the first pay-per-view they're going to show, ladies and gentlemen, on the WWE Network on April 6th on pay-per-view will be WrestleMania 30. So you think about the potential of money that they could possibly lose from not being able to have all buyers buying the pay-per-view, especially WrestleMania being the big cash cow every year.
Well, that was the thing we didn't mention either. We mentioned all the past pay-per-views that the WWE Network is going to be carrying, but the WWE Network, included in the price, you get to see every current pay-per-view live on the WWE Network.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay $50, $60 at a pop anymore to watch them with your cable provider. Now you can pay. Now they're already included in the network. You're not paying anything extra. You can watch them on your phone. You can watch them on your tablet, which to me is just unbelievably convenient.
Right, and the thing is, too, you never have to buy a DVD ever again as long as you're paying. This is almost like Netflix on steroids.
Yeah,
I mean, really, I don't want to use that word steroids,
especially in a conversation about wrestling.
Conversation we're having right now. But I'm just saying, you're talking about you don't have to go to Best Buy to buy a DVD ever again. You don't have to go anywhere else to go to WWE.com to buy a DVD again.
No, because
everything's gonna be digital,
and everything that they and they've said that everything that they air, like a live pay-per-view or one of their shows that's they scheduled for a certain time, at the moment that it's over, it's up to watch.
That's awesome.
That if you missed it, it is already from the moment it ends, it will be up to watch again. So if you want to watch that pay-per-view, and it was a great pay-per-view like WrestleMania, which by the way is going to be hosted by Hulk Hogan, which is just I already get chills just talking about that. But he, I'm still going on Hogan. You'll be able to go right back into it as soon as it's over, which is amazing. And the other thing I'm really happy about too is, other than WWE does the Hall of Fame ceremony the Saturday before WrestleMania, and the only way you could ever see the Hall of Fame in full was to either one, go to the Hall of Fame ceremony, or two, buy the DVD of WrestleMania, which I think up until last year still only had bits and pieces. It didn't have the full.
Yeah, they didn't have the full. And I was actually there at the Hall of Fame last year.
Well, so was I. Yeah, so was I. We were both there.
We got to see Bob Backlund,
Trish Stratus,
Booker T,
and
the one and only Bruno Sammartino and Mick Foley get inducted into the Hall of Fame.
I gotta admit too, this was my first year going to a Hall of Fame. I've been to WrestleManias before, and I've been to Access Sessions and the Raw following afterward, but last year was the first year I had gone to a Hall of Fame ceremony. And it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth.
I agree.
Because of the whole Trish Stratus thing. Trish Stratus was up there to get, nominated, to get inducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame. And the fans that are there, to me, were completely disrespectful.
I agree. It's one of those things where it's like, and I don't like using the word mark. I hate using that because I'm a wrestling mark. But I think some of the smart fans were just being a little too, that was a little too much. And to believe it or not, I don't think she got as much disrespect as Bob Backlund and Maria Menounos did.
No, I don't.
Because
I
I actually tweeted, and Maria tweeted me back when I just told her I apologize on behalf of the fans because not all wrestling fans are like that.
Yeah.
And I think that when she was, because Bob Backlund, I think a lot of people didn't understand why she was chosen to induct Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund knew her when she was a kid.
Yeah.
And I think she was living in Connecticut or somewhere they were living at, and he picked her. So she was more or less telling her story on what Bob meant to her as a human being, and fans didn't really appreciate it. And then when Bob came out, when he wanted to talk about his upbringing in Princeton, Minnesota, the fans started booing him even more. I'm like, well, this is a guy that sold out Madison Square Garden tons of times, and quite frankly, half the crowd weren't even born when Bob Backlund was the champion.
Yeah.
I actually saw the tail end of Bob Backlund's championship reign when he got beat by the Iron Sheik at Madison Square Garden. I actually saw that on television. So a lot of fans really weren't around to really appreciate, some of the wrestlers that paved the way. And I think with this and I think it comes full circle now, because I think with this WWE Network, there's no longer that YouTube, video that you may be able to see half of now. There's not going to be
grainy.
Absolutely. You're going to be able to see footage and learn about pro wrestling and just the beginning of everything. You really get to see wrestlers in their wrestlers that, obviously, you're talking about the Mr. Perfects of the world, the British Bulldogs, the Ravishing Rick Rude, Owen Hart. You're going to see wrestlers. You got to talk about Andre the Giant. Let's talk about him for a second. You're going to see guys like him, and you're going to see the feuds like Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. You're going to see feuds with like Ricky Steamboat and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. You're going to see all of that stuff. So, going back to what you're saying about the fans being disrespectful, how left the nasty taste in your mouth, I almost walked out of the Hall of Fame. Like, I literally, and if it wasn't for the fact that I spent the money that I spent for the Hall of Fame, and I kind of had to put things in perspective. Yeah, I was like, and as soon as they all were on stage and they raised their hands and all that stuff, I walked out of there. I said, I'm done. I said, that was just plainly disrespectful.
I mean, a lot of a majority of the fans that were being disrespectful, they're there and they're treating it as if it's another Monday Night Raw, or if it's a Friday Night SmackDown, or if it's a pay-per-view, where they have the right to heckle and things like that. They're not taking into account that, look, this is a Hall of Fame ceremony. This is a big deal. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Absolutely.
And you guys are being completely disrespectful, and you're tainting and ruining and tarnishing this moment for these people.
Because the Hall of Fame, think about it. I remember when 94, 95, 96, and 2004 were closed to the fans. Maybe certain fans that may have been a part of the WWF fan club at the time were granted access, but they were in hotel ballrooms were the Hall of Fames back then. You know what I'm saying? And I think because of the way it happened in 2004 when Bobby Heenan completely stole the show in 2004 when his Hall of Fame speech, good grief. And Harley Race and all those guys that were up there. That's what set the precedent for them getting the idea of just having it a full weekend, a full WrestleMania week. And that's what was, and to me, WrestleMania 20 was another turning of the corner of saying, all right, we got this. Now let's invite the fans. And they were doing amphitheaters for the longest time. And then 2008 for WrestleMania 24 is when he did it at the Oracle Arena, wherever it is in Orlando, Florida, when Ric Flair got inducted, because of how important, obviously, a guy like Ric Flair going into the Hall of Fame with a storied career. So they were opening it to more, and obviously that's going to generate more revenue for, obviously, the WWE and the McMahon family. But, to your point, that was a horrendous display of disrespect by the fans.
And I kind of think now, it's my personal opinion. You might agree with me, you might disagree with me. But now with the WWE Network coming about, and WWE Network is going to be airing the full Hall of Fame ceremony live on the WWE Network the night before WrestleMania. I think now that we have that access to get into the Hall of Fame without actually having to be at the Hall of Fame, I think it would have more meaning to these people if they went back to the smaller venues rather than have it. Granted, I know it's not going to produce nearly as much revenue for the WWE or for the arena that's going to be holding it, but I think to hold the tradition of the WWE Hall of Fame, now that the fan has access to watch it on the WWE Network and not have to buy a ticket to be there, to see the whole thing, I think it should go back. I think it should go back to the traditional smaller venue.
But you want to know something, man? This year's Hall of Fame is going to be something to be remembered because Triple H said in an interview they are giving the Ultimate Warrior a live mic and he can say whatever he wants.
But okay, all right. Okay, so after this year, after 30, I think they should go back to the traditional WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. Yeah. That is until WWE has WrestleMania here in Philly again, which is hopefully supposed to happen in the next 3 years, from what I understand.
Well, that was a huge thing because 31 was supposed to have been here, but I don't think it was.
I think it was between 31 and 32.
They were saying the mayor, and the mayor was talking about. I guess from where it was pitched, the mayor of Philadelphia was making it seem as if they were doing the WWE a favor because they were about to get 31. Philadelphia was.
Well, here's the thing when it comes to WrestleMania in Philadelphia. WrestleMania in Philadelphia, obviously, there's only one place you could have it, and that would be the Link.
Absolutely.
Citizens Bank Park, you're not going to have a wrestling event in a ballpark. Although I think it's happened before. It's too big for Wells Fargo Center. Right. That's where you would have Raw. That's where you have access and everything.
Absolutely.
Everything would be right there.
Yes, definitely.
The thing about having it at the Link is the Eagles are stubborn as hell. The Eagles do not want anything in their, and I'm doing quotations for a radio show, the Eagles do not want anything in their arena that's not related to the Eagles. It's one of the reasons why it's very extremely rare you will ever see it happens, but it's very, very rare you will ever see a concert that is in the Link. I think it's happened maybe a handful of times since the Link has been around.
Well, Keith Urban's played there.
Taylor Swift, I think, has played there.
Right. I think she's a big ticket, which is why they'll probably say yes.
Yeah.
But, you talk about the money that you're going to generate. It all makes sense. Maybe this is why the Eagles haven't been successful in years because of bad business decisions. So if you Eagle fans are listening, and I hate to turn this into a sports show, just lighten up, all right? Please.
But, it's like exactly like you said. Just imagine the amount of revenue that would come into this city by hosting WrestleMania.
For example, last year in New York, New Jersey, I'll count both. something in the realm of $106 million that they basically generated within 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, $106 million that potentially the city of Philadelphia has turned away.
Well, because WrestleMania is not just a one-time, it's not just a one-event thing anymore. It's an entire weekend. Entire week.
Absolutely. You got the WWE superstars and divas going to a lot of the Be a Star anti-bullying things. You got the reading challenge. Yep. You have, obviously you have the access. We have the autograph sessions, the VIP autograph sessions. You have, of course, the WWE Hall of Fame. You have all these different.
You have Monday Night Raw the night afterwards.
And of course, the event WrestleMania. So business-wise, it makes sense. Now, obviously, with the 49ers, opening up that new Levi's Stadium and the fact that Vince McMahon wants to be the first big event before the Super Bowl. Yeah. Super Bowl 50 is supposed to be there. So, this is the second time that Vince McMahon has trumped the NFL in getting a brand new stadium before the Super Bowl gets it. So, again,
New York, New Jersey last year.
Absolutely. And then now
this year out in California.
Yeah, so it really goes to show you that he's thinking ahead of the curve, and he's once again, just when you think Vince is out for the count or Vince doesn't have his finger on the pulse.
I never count Vince out.
And I think there's been many wrestlers. I'm talking about the Hogans and the Kevin Nashes that'll tell you, you never ever. I don't care who you are, you do not count Vince McMahon out because he'll find a way to stick you in the end, no matter what, whether good or bad.
I had an opportunity to meet Vince one time, and it was like I think I was more starstruck to meet him than I was any wrestler I've met in the past, mainly because of what he has built. And but I mean, going back to what we were saying about WrestleMania and the revenue that it would generate as well.
Right.
It's not just, if you think about it, it's not just those 5 days either. Like, there are events that will happen that start from the press conference announcing WrestleMania in Philadelphia, which happens almost a year before it.
Yeah.
And you will see events and appearances all throughout that time leading up to those 5 days of WrestleMania.
And let's not forget that some of the independent promotions are going to take advantage of that. I can't remember when did they start doing it, but Dragon Gate USA and Ring of Honor will have their local events near, and I think last year TNA did an event in New York.
TNA did an event in New York. I think Dragon Gate had a conference not too far from where they were holding the access sessions.
Yeah.
Because there were guys there that we saw in that lineup that we wanted to. Hulk Hogan was at.
They were in Secaucus.
Secaucus, yeah.
Exactly. And what's crazy about that is that, if I'm not mistaken, WWE almost had that thing shut down because they were selling counterfeit merchandise from WWE, and I think somebody must have tipped them off.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And I'm just like, wow. But yeah, because I know a lot of people. I know DDP was doing Access and the other event. Lita was doing that one.
I think there were a couple other superstars that were doing both.
They were doing both. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that whoever's on the Legends contract, you can actually go ahead and you can do, make your own little deal across the way, and then you can easily just come back and you can do Access. Because I know I saw DDP doing his deal and promoting DDP yoga and things like that.
I'll tell you what, man, meeting DDP at Access was probably one of the coolest things.
Yeah,
there was a couple guys that I was like, okay, I'm like, this is cool that I'm meeting this person and stuff like that. But there were a couple guys that definitely stood out. DDP was one of them, just because he works the crowd, man.
Well, yeah,
he works the crowd when he's sitting there, especially with the Diamond Cutter. Like, he was always taking pictures with the fans were doing the other half of the Diamond Cutter.
Right.
And if you put up the wrong hand when you went up there, like he put up the left and you put up the right, and he would stand up and he would humiliate you if you did it wrong.
And you take the humiliation in stride because he's DDP.
He's DDP. And then the other guy I know I was really excited to meet, just because I grew up watching him, was when I got the opportunity to meet Ricky Steamboat.
Oh man,
that was just huge. And I even told him that when I met him. I said, you are the one person this entire day I was going to wait in line to meet. And you could tell, like, he was generally, like, honored to have heard that.
That's cool. Honestly, I wasn't supposed to go to Access last year. I was gonna go just to the Hall of Fame and to WrestleMania. They were having the movie audition for Christmas Bounty with The Miz, and I auditioned for the movie, and after spending money for tickets to audition for a movie, I'm like, well, I might as well make it worth my while.
Yeah, exactly.
So I went ahead and I got in line to meet Mark Henry.
I missed out on Mark Henry, but
and I call him Mark Rose. That's Rick. He had the Rick Ross deal now, but no, he was real cool to meet. I met him, and there was just a couple. Honestly, I really didn't. Besides him, I really didn't want to meet anyone else. I just waved to people, waved to wrestlers. Like I waved at Daniel Bryan, Paul Heyman. I waved to Lita. I took a picture with Tamina Snuka, actually.
So did I.
I took a picture with her, and which a few of my friends were a little jealous of, but whatever. But it's just one of those things where it's like it went from just a regional Northeast promotion. Think about that for a second when you're talking about the world that is the WWE. They went from a Northeast regional promotion that Vince bought from his father that he had to make quarterly payments for, or else he was going to actually lose the company. And he went and he just did calculated risk that he always says. And he went and he took and built, he created WrestleMania. Yep. And after that one, it just went on. And then he started adding more and adding more and adding more. So it's like, he went there. And there were a few periods, obviously, in any business, in any endeavor that you're going to have your down moments. But it's all about how you get up and how you bounce back. And it took for him to realize that he needed to create more new stars again. And before you knew it, he was creating, obviously, the Bret Harts and the Shawn Michaels in that early 90s era.
Mid-90s,
and
into
then,
the Austins.
And the Austin and the
Rocks.
I think it meant more to me when it was Rock and Austin because, think of it this way. Bret and Shawn were already mainstays there already at that point, but they were on the lower top, they were low on the totem pole in regards to where they were on the card. But at the same time, with the whole Austin deal, it meant more because of the fact that Jim Ross basically hired Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Mick Foley. Think about that for a second. The names that the guys that I just named,
and the one man that was behind getting them there.
That's amazing, and it's like Jim Ross knew, and obviously the relationship he had with Austin and Mick Foley and WCW, he knew those guys, so he was able to bring those guys in. And that he was in the multitude of the young talent that they brought in. Obviously, you're talking about the D'Lo Browns they brought in. That he was a young guy. Val Venus, he was a young guy. Edge, Christian, the Hardys, the Dudleys, and it was just this multitude of talent that he was hiring because he knew their work ethic and all those things. So it was that down period, mid '90s. But they once, to me, the promotion that's not too far from here, ECW, came along and forced both companies, North and South, to change the game a little bit, take some of their talent or whatever it was, and then now you see the resurgence of pro wrestling. Pro wrestling was awesome in the late 90s, early 2000s, because channel surfing was addicting.
Yeah. Did you ever have an opportunity to go to any of the old ECW shows?
Unfortunately,
before
no.
they were...
But no, unfortunately I didn't, and I wish I did. And I tell my friend Bill Wiles, Bill, if you're listening, what's up, man? I'm really good friends with him, and he used to wrestle for Extreme Championship Wrestling, and I used to tell him all the time, I was like, dude, there were times I wish I could have gone. But I discovered ECW, I think in late '94 when they were being shown, because you had to catch them at about 1 a.m. on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
You would have to catch them on local access TV, or luckily for me, Madison Square Garden Network, because I was living in Jersey at the time, I was able to catch ECW. So I was getting familiar with the Sandman. I was getting familiar with the guy that we knew as Scotty Flamingo and Johnny Polo, who turned into Raven.
Yeah.
I got familiar with Stevie Richards. I got familiar with Sabu and Taz and all these guys. And I still remembered when Benoit, Malenko, and Jericho were all in ECW.
Yeah, so do I.
You know what I mean? So it was like
I remember when Foley was in ECW.
Oh yeah, Born to Be Wild was his theme, and he was tag team champions with Mikey Whipwreck, and he was doing the promo, and that's when I started to realize this dude can talk.
Yeah,
because the Kane Dewey promo was epic. Obviously, some of the things, the promos that he did, that Steve Austin came through ECW.
Yeah,
and to me, that was I feel the metamorphosis that was changing in his life in regards to going into that morphing into that Stone Cold character where he was ready to see, basically, flipping the gums and saying whatever the heck he wanted to say. So I always felt, just being a fan, that company, on a limited resources that they had, because they'll admit, it's been said, they didn't wrestle for much, but
I've been to one of the shows, and they're in a basement practically. It's funny. I have two funny stories about ECW. I got to go to one show, when I was younger. I was still in high school, and because they were right here in Philly.
Right.
And I remember like a buddy of mine who had gone to a couple of different shows. He told me, he said, hey, he's like, do you want to go to the ECW show tonight? I said, well, I'm like, I'm not really too familiar with it. I only know maybe a couple of the guys or anything like that. He's like, let's go. He's like, because I promise you it's a good time.
Right.
I'm like, all right. He's like, oh, by the way, grab a frying pan. I'm like, what? I'm like, grab a frying pan.
What, the cook?
I'm like, what the hell do I need a frying pan for?
Yeah, right.
He's like, trust me. He's like, grab a frying pan. I'm like, all right, so I'll grab a frying pan. So, and I get there, and there's people carrying things in with them. Not signs like you carry in anymore. It's things that they want people to use as weapons.
And disclaimer for our younger listeners, rather. Yes, before, obviously, before making signs was cool, people brought weapons for wrestlers to hit the other wrestlers with. Probably the most insane thing I've ever seen. Go ahead.
And I remember, like, we got pretty close, and there was a match. It was between Sabu and Raven, and it was a hell of a match. Like, they were going off one another, and it came into the crowd. And at that point, like, that's when those weapons came in. They would grab the weapons from the fans and use them. And I remember my frying pan got grabbed from my hand by Raven and smacked Sabu in the back. And left it bent the frying pan slightly. And I picked the frying pan up off the ground because as soon as he used it, he dropped it. And I picked it up. And I just thought to myself, and I screamed to my buddy, I'm like, my mom is going to be so pissed, but that was cool as shit. I'm like, that was awesome.
Oh, man.
And I had to explain how a frying pan got bent when I got home. Whoops. Wow. I forgot to silence my alarm.
Oh, no, it's all good.
Yeah.
But man, that would have to be a very interesting conversation to have with your parents.
Yeah.
So, son, where were you tonight? Well, I went to go see wrestling. Well, what happened? I don't know. I brought they broke your frying pan.
So, I mean, luckily my mom's cool, so it was, it was pretty cool about it. But the other story I had, too, is ECW is actually... I was watching WWF at the time.
Right.
And had now started to get into the ECW thing. And I went away to school. I went away to college, and my college actually had their own form of backyard wrestling that was very much like ECW. Fluorescent lights, tables made of plywood that you put through. And the school actually was okay with it. They actually put on 2 pay-per-views a year. Well, mega shows, because they weren't pay-per-views, obviously, because they were free for anybody to actually come.
Right.
And they were huge events. Like, people, like, from campus-wide, they would set this up out on the quad, outside of the gymnasium, outside of a doorway where they had a ramp, like a walkway. People had theme music. People came out to entrances. No pyrotechnics or anything like that.
Yeah, right.
Everybody had their own aliases. Everybody had their own specialty moves. And I remember I was like, you know what? I got to get in on this. And I did, and I got in on it, and I had the stupidest name. I was Bronco Ben. It was retarded. I wore a cowboy hat and jeans and stuff like that. But I remember they put on weekly shows in the gym. They had a lot of time that they were allowed to, and it was on mats that were like 2 feet high. So there was really no chance you were going to slam on the ground. But people were still doing all these moves to each other. However, the Mega Show, which was their form of the pay-per-view, they did two a year, one a semester, was outside in the grass. There was no mats. There were no nothing. There were tables, there were fluorescent lights, there were ladders. It was hardcore backyard. But the way we got through it was because I remember I was nervous as hell when we went into, because I was challenging for a tag team belt. We had belts and everything.
Oh, wow.
I was challenging for a tag team belt at the Mega Show, which we won, by the way. I was a tag team. It was CZW was the name of it. And PWP. Sorry, CZW was actually a
combat wrestling zone.
It was PWP. It was something wrestling something. I don't even remember what it was. It was PWP. And I remember going into it, and I was nervous as hell because I knew no more mats, no more safety. Like, this was all out. And I'm not a large guy. I was smaller in college. And I just remember asking the guy that ran the whole thing. I said, "How do you do it?" He's like, "Oh, we get hammered." So I'm like, "Okay," because that's going to make performing moves even easier. And I remember just one of the finishing moves, because I was not the one on my team that got the pin. My partner was the one that got the pin because I was out for the count. I remember just climbing up a ladder and the guy coming up and just grabbing me by my shorts, by my jeans, and putting me through a table. His partner pulled a table and he put me through the table. And
oh man,
I laid there and I sold the injury. I was fine. I sold the injury. It was the next day that you knew who was a part of that show because nobody moved. Everybody was sore as hell. Nobody could move. We were bruised. We were battered. But I'll tell you what, it was some of the most fun I ever had in college.
But wait, you're a former tag team champion.
I know. I can say that.
PWP tag champ.
I was a PWP tag team champ. It was pretty awesome. So, but going all the way back to what we said, I had asked you what pay-per-view you were looking forward to the most. I do want to go back and I do want to watch some of the ECW pay-per-views because I never did get the chance to watch them.
Right.
And you're probably going to laugh at this, but the one pay-per-view I want to go back and watch just because I remember somehow absolutely loving it. I want to go back. There's a series of pay-per-views I want to watch from WWE Invasion to WWE Survivor Series.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 4 months when it was the invasion of WCW and ECW into WWE.
Nothing to laugh at, brother. I mean, I have my feelings about the invasion because I felt as though it was done prematurely. I felt that a lot of WCW contracts weren't up at that time. The Halls, the Nashes, the Hogans, the Goldbergs, Stings. You know what I mean? Like the guys that made WCW, you know, the big name WCW guys weren't around. Flair hadn't even shown up yet. So I think to me...
Jesus. Sorry.
That's cool. To me, I think that if they would have waited, let's say, I don't know, WrestleMania 18 for the invasion that happened when Triple H, let's say if he would have won the title from Chris Jericho or something like that or whatever the case may be, if they would have done it that way, Triple H is in a ring and all of a sudden you see guys running down in the ring beating the crap out of Triple H.
Well, Flair came in shortly after Survivor Series.
The night after.
It was the night after because that was when he turned out to be the other half of the person who bought
the custodian,
WWE.
Right.
Yeah.
So, to me, wait till you have all the horses there.
Yeah.
Because what happened the next year? Hall and Nash showed up.
As the NWO
Hogan,
came back.
Exactly. So, to me, I felt the invasion should have happened and let it take its time. But I think they wanted to just get it out of the way, or whatever the case. But the matches I enjoyed from that whole deal was the RVD Jeff Hardy matches.
And that's why I want to go back and rewatch these.
That was a pretty cool deal. But I mean, I enjoyed it while it was happening. But it was one of those things. I'm like, yo, man, what if?
Yeah, DDP versus Christian. I think there's that Survivor Series, and I mean, a lot
the Hardys and the Dudleys and stuff. So yeah, but I remember I was actually at King of the Ring when the initial deal happened with Booker T doing the run-in on Stone Cold.
Okay.
On the triple threat match with Stone Cold, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit. And Booker T comes out of nowhere and does a scissor kick on Stone Cold outside the ring. You know what I'm saying? And I was there for that. Which, by the way, that pay-per-view was bonkers, too.
That's another one I want to look for.
I have that on DVD. Shane and Kurt Angle stole the show.
Well, I have the Survivor Series that I mentioned, too. The winner-take-all Survivor Series.
Right, exactly.
I still have that on DVD.
And Tess, God rest his soul. I miss Tess so much. But Tess was, I think he has some type of deal, some type of clause, because he entered a battle royal.
Yeah.
He lost the title, and then he ends up winning and keeping his job forever.
Yeah, because he wins the battle. He comes right back into the battle royal later on that night, and he gets to keep his job.
Yep, that was awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I'm looking forward to going back and watching. Plus some of the original content that's coming up, like the Monday Night Wars and things like that. Like 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'm probably going to be signed up.
It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be very interesting. And I mean, the whole Legends House deal is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Iron Sheik's on that one.
I'm not sure.
I would pay. Now, if the Iron Sheik was on Legends House, I would have paid for the network a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Have you ever read any of his Twitter stuff?
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of know who's behind his Twitter.
Oh, it's not him behind it?
It's not him. It's a guy I won't mention.
Okay.
But that's behind. Sorry if I'm telling secrets here, but yeah, it's somebody behind the whole Twitter deal. His Twitter. But just the Iron Sheik shoot promos that he's done over the years on YouTube and some things he's done for RF Video were completely hilarious. Like, he was just in a drunken frenzy, just talking about everybody. And I think he was saying something about how he had some heat with he did not like B. Brian Blair. I don't know why. I don't know why at all. And I think he was saying something how, you know, he played for the other team, those other stuff and that type of thing. I'm just like, okay. And I think someone had to tell him in a promo, like, dude, you know he's married, right? He's like, oh, I didn't know. I mean, he just goes on and on, but to get the Iron Sheik riled up. But I'm looking for, you know, honestly, too, I'm looking forward to seeing Superstar Billy Graham when he was the champion. Yeah. And I mean, that's a dude I actually had an honor to meet in 2008. And I got his autograph and everything. I actually did security for the actual autograph session. So included was an autograph from him and Dawn Marie and stuff. Yeah. And Superstar, and this is network related, but to educate some of the younger fans, if you want to know where Hogan got his shtick from, if you want to know where Scott Steiner got his shtick from as being a Big Papa Pump, watch some Superstar Billy Graham, because guess what? He had some rap. He had the 24-inch guns. He was the one talking about the 24-inch pythons. He was the one talking, and Hogan stole all that from him.
I think a lot of the guys have taken stuff from other guys along the way.
Oh, definitely. But I mean, Superstar in 1976, 77, when he was champion, I mean, you talk about a guy that just was, he looked the part, 20 years ahead of his time, had the look, he was ripped to shreds. When you're working out with Arnold Schwarzenegger, when Arnold first came to the States, like, you are somebody.
Which, by the way, was really cool when he got to, when he inducted...
The funniest thing about that, and I know where you're going, when he said something about how, you know, Bruno Sammartino's 77 years old, and he's lifting, 300 pounds. He said, just the other day, I'm actually back in the gym, and I'm lifting, and I had an opportunity to lift 400 pounds. He said, I actually did that. He said, yeah, I was lifting Chris Christie out of his chair. I'm like, oh, man.
So it was cool. We were in the same building as Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I actually saw him pull into Madison because all the stars were coming in as Suburbans and Escalades and buses and things like that. And yeah, Arnold was like had a cigar and he was chilling. He was in the car with some people. It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. All right, that was a pretty lengthy conversation. We went on for a while about that.
We warned you. Yeah. See, we warned you about
We knew we were going to hulk out on wrestling talk. We knew it was going to happen.
Brother.
All right, we got to move on to going to hit our next level news. So let's go into that now.
This is Next Level News.
All right, a couple things in the entertainment industry going on right now. Anchorman 2 is set to re-release Anchorman 2 into theaters, this time with an R-rated version that's pretty supersized. I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen. The guy that... what is his name? Completely blanking from my head. Oh, Adam McKay. Adam McKay, the guy that directed and wrote Anchorman 2, pretty much has said in interviews before that there were so many jokes and so much improv that went into that show that they could have made an entirely second film with the same storyline but just all new jokes along the way. So I have a feeling that's what this is. The second film it's the jokes from the same scenes but so dirty that they just couldn't use them.
Right.
So now they're putting them through into another R-rated version. That's going to be released into theaters only for a week. It's over 2 hours long. It's about 2 hours and 20 minutes long, which is pretty long for a comedy. But if it's a comedy like Anchorman, it's definitely going to be worth it. February 28th is when that's going to hit theaters again. It's going to run for 1 week. It's going to have a musical number in it too, which I think is going to be pretty funny. It's a musical number that they said that they couldn't put into. They had to cut this for tonight. Moving on as well. NBC is returning the television show Heroes back to the air. It's going to be a 13-episode miniseries. It's going to air next year with the show's creator Tim Crane. There's a little promo going around. It's only about 5 seconds long. It's the Heroes logo and the word Reborn underneath it. I'm kind of hoping that this makes up for the fact that the show really turned shitty after the second season. I know that's when I stopped watching. And last but not least, Jimmy Fallon delivers strong during the first week at the Tonight Show. You and I were talking about this earlier. I know you didn't get a chance to see every episode. I've watched every episode of Jimmy this week, and he's killing it. He's absolutely killing it as the host.
He is what's current, man. And I think to kind of chime in a little bit, I think that show needed a new face. And I'm not discounting anything that Jay Leno's accomplished in his career. 22 years in that time slot. Obviously speaks volumes. But to me, I think that obviously having a guy like Jimmy Fallon, who is current, who has ties with certain people in the industry that can bring this, and he's doing something different. He's doing bits. Like Jay would do a stand-up shtick and not do that, and do news or whatever. But I think now with Jimmy, he's able to add that entertainment element, which is going to generate, like you said, huge ratings.
Well, it's the highest ratings the show has had in 20 years that show has had. And it's his first week.
Imagine that.
Exactly. I know one of the things that he had done, he had Justin Timberlake on as his guest Friday night, as his guest and musical guest. And one of the things that he always does, he's done it 4 times, now 5, is he always does those History of Rap videos. And we actually have... I'm hoping that we have a clip. We're going to see if this works. We're going to play a little bit of this. This was part of how it went down Friday night when they did. Justin Timberlake came out, sat down at the chair. Justin and Jimmy didn't say a word. They pretty much just stared at each other for about 30 seconds, grabbed the mic, and then went out on the stage. And they went right into History of Rap 5.
Rapper quite like I can. I take a muscle bound man, put his face in the sand. Not the last mafioso, I'm an MC cop. Make you say go, Justin into the wild. Beat to the rhyme I just made. Party at the jelly till lights tonight fade.
And it's weird because, like I was telling you before too, every time I think there's no more rap songs they could do, they come up with another History of Rap. There's so many more of the songs. And I love hearing these because there's so many songs that I forget are out there that I love.
Older stuff.
You gotta leave your name, you gotta leave your number, and wait for the beat. Yeah!
And there's songs too that they do that I haven't heard that I want to hear, that I go back and listen to. So Jimmy and Justin did another History of Rap on Friday night. Then Justin did a music. He was his guest pretty much the entire night. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for Next Level News. We're going to take another music break, come back. We're going to hit the Weird of the Week. We'll talk to Derrick a little bit, see what he's got to plug. I know you got a new radio show that's going to be hitting the airwaves pretty soon, so we'll talk to him a little bit about that.
Definitely.
But we're going to take a music break, and we will be back in a few minutes. Hang tight.
All right, zip it.
You can't even...
Zip it. Zip.
Look,
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, exhibit A.
Number 2, would you please back me
Look,
up?
I'm Zippy Longstockings.
I can't...
When a problem comes along, you must zip it. Zip it good.
Frau, would you please...
He's too high, pin the wall. Nita hioto. Subtitle, zip it.
I'm just trying to...
Zip. Would you like to have the suckle of my zipper?
I want you... Stop.
Zip it.
This...
Zip it.
Oh, you know... You're like a child. Talking... If you... Just... One time...
Zip it.
All right, we are back. Followed up by a little... Philip Seymour Hoffman. But again, once again, I am joined by my buddy Derrick Lewis. Here is my co-host tonight. Adam is away on vacation. We just had a pretty lengthy wrestling conversation. We kind of had a feeling we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we said it in the beginning, you and I could talk about wrestling for hours, if not days. So we both grew up watching it. we both have a past with it. We both have our own experiences with it. So it's it's something that we both hold dear to, like our childhoods and things like that.
Absolutely.
So of course we're going to talk about that. But however, had you on tonight, you are you're an actor.
Yes, I am.
You've worked with some pretty big stars, at least in some minor roles, but you've gotten to work with some pretty impressive people. Richard Gere said you had mentioned Sam Worthington, Elizabeth Banks. You were in the movie Man on a Ledge, which you're very, to anybody who knows Derrick, you're very easily seen in the movie. You're not hidden in the background.
Not at all.
No, I don't mean set. I mean, I don't mean by by your size, because you're a tall guy. You're very prevalent in the scene. You're right there up front, in the crowd. So
that was a pretty interesting experience because when I shot that film, we shot that film for about 4 weekends on back in 2000, about the fall of 2010. So we had to commit, 4 weekends of 12 to 13 to 14-hour days of being out
in New York City.
It was
right?
we shot on 45th and Madison Avenue, right by the Roosevelt Hotel, where the movie actually took place at. And we had to commit to it. There was some cold days out there. It was in the fall, so we're right over near the East River. So all that wind, and you figure New York City's nothing but a big wind tunnel. So we had to combat and deal with that. All of that, people say happens by accident, but I think it's meant to happen. Basically, the scene that I'm in with, I guess me, kind of going at it with a New York City cop. They were, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and they wanted to use me for that particular part of the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether they were going to use it. Because in those situations, you never know what the editing process is. You don't know anything. And fortunately for me, someone had seen it, an advanced copy of it, and they said, "Dude, I don't know if you know you made the film, right?" I'm like, "No way, you gotta be kidding me!" So I actually went, saw it at the theater opening night, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow, and it wasn't like they panned me. This is like I'm actually doing something in this film.
Oh no, you're on there for a good couple seconds.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So that experience, working some other films that I was on, being able to work with some great people, both on the on the indie scene as well as obviously some major actors I've encountered and talked to and stuff like that. It's an amazing thing, to be able to experience that, and you could take that experience to your next gig, or your next audition or whatever. So I'm always saying I'm a student of the game, and I want to be able to learn. I want to be able to learn from this guy, whether if I'm watching him from far away, and how he's just his commitment to the role, commitment to the scene. That's something I tell some people that people ask me all the time. How do you learn? About when you get an audition. How do you know this or how do you know that? I said, with practice and being around it for a while, it's just all about feeling, and it's all about what's called for. Like I just filmed the TV show that's going to be shopped around to television networks. It's called Life After War. I filmed that about a month ago. Then I had to do some reshoots last weekend, and basically, and I'll tell you guys just a little bit about it. There was a woman. The director knows a woman that her son was fighting in Afghanistan, and he came back suffering from PTSD because of the war, and one thing leads to another. He kills himself in the basement or in his bedroom, wherever it was. So obviously the mom is distraught. She's doesn't know what to do. So rather than, I guess, mourn, she felt as though this was an opportunity to help others. So she's actually providing help for soldiers that are coming back that are suffering from PTSD or having some social issues and things like that. So I play a guy that is 24 years old, living in my parents' basement, no job, nothing, and I'm trying to find my way back into society in being a civilian again. And I guess the woman he's playing the therapist, is I guess my people that are playing my parents they invited her over and told me about it. Hey, someone's going to come see you, and she's basically talking to me, wanted me basically to express my feelings about how's life after war, and all those things. So it's pretty emotional, I think, because I really got to see in just reading the script and understanding how I jumped into this character and was able to embrace it was because, you know, I've known some people that have gone on tour, and they may have known people that have maybe gone through these things. So I'm a patriot now. I'm a proud American, and our heroes go over there and fight. They're fighting for our freedom every day. So to be able to at least jump in temporarily to quasi understand what some of these people go through just by reading the script, I'm like, wow, this is truly amazing. So that's my whole spiel on just my take on just loving the entertainment and acting business and just being able to get better at what I do.
Yeah. I know, like, I know many people don't really know much about, like, Derrick and I's, friendship and things like that. You and I go back quite a ways.
We go back 12 years.
Derrick and I started in drum corps.
Yeah.
We met in drum corps. We didn't start in drum corps together, but we met in drum corps. One year marching for the Bushwhackers. I unfortunately had a knee injury that kind of put me out before the season went in full swing. But, we've stayed in contact between then. We still have some other friends, like our friend Scott, who we stay in contact with. And it's just, it's not, when I say it's weird, I don't mean in a bad way. It's just funny to me, like, looking back at everything. Like, we met in drum corps, and now we both kind of follow the entertainment industry, and we found our own little niches in the entertainment industry.
Right, indeed.
Like, you're doing the acting thing, and you're going to be doing the radio thing soon, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But I'm doing the radio thing now. I did the radio thing before, and I wanted to do the acting thing before, but now I'm more. Now I find more comfort on the behind the camera,
which is very important.
Yeah,
we need. I mean, seriously, I commend not just directors and assistant producers, but just everybody, production assistants, everybody, the camera guys. Those are the people that help make the presentation what it is. So I'm very, very appreciative of those people too, because without them, we're nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I have a constant reminder that nobody can really see inside the studio, but I have a constant reminder above my desk of the very first movie I was ever a part of. Right. That's now out on DVD and everything. So I mean, like, we both have projects under our belt. We both have potential projects in our future. It's weird that our careers are going somewhere, and albeit they're not as quickly as we'd like them to be, but it's all part of the waiting game. It's all of finding
the process, right?
Finding the process and learning along the way and just having fun.
Exactly.
As we do it, and we're exploring different routes and things like that. I still would explore the acting route if I ever had an opportunity, but I find more comfort, and I find my niche is more in writing and such, and and the production aspect of it. I've done a couple acting gigs before, mostly extra work. Did a couple episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right.
I had the same experience that you did on Man on the Ledge I had with Transformers 2, when Transformers 2 shot in the city, the 12-hour days and things like that for scenes that were only, a couple seconds in the movie. Whereas you got to be on screen for a couple seconds. I think I'm on the set. I think my arm is on a screen for like a split second.
Okay.
And that's about like all I really got out of the experience. But it was still a fun experience, and it was really cool. But you're taking the next step. You have a little bit of a background in it already, but now you're going to be going off on your own. You're going to be doing your own radio show.
Yes.
Starting in March.
Yeah. I actually released on my Twitter page. You can follow me at @TheRealDTLou. And I announced today that I am launching my own radio podcast on blogtalkradio.com called The D-Lou Podcast. And as he mentioned, I do have a background in radio. I started, a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine who I lost recently, he passed away. He and I have been talking for years and years about doing our own, wrestling-related radio show. Yeah. And I was thinking, okay, he had been doing it since the mid-'90s when he was in college. He had his own college radio show. So he was able to basically teach me the ropes without really saying that he was teaching me. It was more or less that he was showing me, and it was just kind of learn on the job. It was a hands-on type of, experience for me. So we were able to do that. And we did that for a couple of years, as a matter of fact, up until about maybe the summertime last year. Then obviously with my schedule and, he had got a little busy and things like that. And then that led me to get another radio. I have done some other internet radio shows that help some other people out and things like that. And then I was doing a show with Patriots Extra. The guy called in as a guest, and the guy, I guess whatever reason, he liked my presence so much on radio. He asked me personally, would you like to be a co-host on the show? And then it let me actually hosting the show a couple of times. And, with the happening of my friend, passing away in January, in my mind at that point, he had always been telling me, Derrick, you need to get your own show, man. What the hell's wrong with you? You should be doing this by yourself as well. And I told him, I said, I never saw myself, doing radio by myself, because I was just more or less, hey, I'm just talking wrestling with my friend.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as, okay, I'm doing radio. But then I would say the last 7-8 months, I was listening to guys that are very successful in the podcast business. Obviously, Steve Austin's doing well. Chris Jericho's doing well. Jim Ross just launched his show recently. I listened to ESPN's First Take every day with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, who I have high respect for. Their knowledge of their sports, regardless of what people may think about them and their views and their opinions, it's their format to do that.
Yeah.
It's your choice to listen or not. But those are guys that I listen to, and just understanding what they do, not so much of the content of it, but more or less just the overall flow. And that's all I look at. Is just, and I guess it's the actor in me, as far as, okay, how do I get to this level, and how do I get there? So once I'm a visual guy, and I hear, and I listen. I love, I'm a very good listener. So the more I was realizing, and listening to these shows every day, and then of course my friend, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do something that he wanted me to do, and that's to get my own show. So I started looking up and researching and doing all these things. I came up with a logo, a format, a poster for it. And I officially launched on my website, www.derricklewis.com. If you go to the news section, you'll be able to see who my first guest is going to be. You can go on there and check it out and share it with your friends or whoever you know. And, of course, there's a tab on my page. You can look through the whole entire website and things like that. But you can also look at the actual D-Loop podcast tab, which is going to give you all the information, all the 411 you need in regards to the show, why I started it and that type of thing. And again, Ben, definitely helped me out tremendously, with my website. I owe him a huge thank you. He's a friggin' awesome whiz when it comes to just the website and creating things and that type of stuff. And it's cool to have, like he said before, we have, we met on a musical end in regards to drum and bugle corps, which I have done for almost 20 years. And to see where our lives and careers are almost kind of parallel is pretty cool, because, again, I love entertainment. My parents were involved in entertainment. That's how they got married. That's how they got married. That's how my parents met. And I must have inherited the entertainment gene, because I can't. This is something when you know that something isn't work, or when something isn't just stressful and you enjoy, regardless of how long of a day it is, you're meant to do it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. So you launch, for those of the people who haven't had the chance to go on your Twitter page yet, March
the 4th, Tuesday, March 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 5 Pacific if you listen over in California and Oregon and Nevada and wherever state you live in.
Which is a Tuesday night, so you can definitely listen and not have to worry about not being able to listen to us.
Right.
So we'll be listening to Derrick Show. So you guys should be listening to Derrick Show too. At least give it a shot. Just you never know until you try.
Absolutely.
So awesome, man. I'm glad you were able to come out here and join me tonight. This is it's pretty cool. I'm glad you were able to come out and announce your show and everything else. And I appreciate the compliment on the website. That's
It's guys, check it out seriously. It's not me at all. It's just, again, I may provide some ideas or whatever it is, but this whole deal is all Ben and what he's able to do. And again, he's a multi-talented guy, the guy that can do just about anything. So again, check it out. Check out the website. Check out, obviously the podcast deal. You can also listen to my podcast on blogtalkradio.com/the D-Loop podcast. And you can also subscribe to my show on iTunes as well. And what's going to happen too is that after every show, it'll be on iTunes, and the archives will also be on my webpage on the D-Loop podcast tab. So we're able to do those things, and technology is an amazing thing, isn't it?
It is. It definitely is. And when he says D-Lew, it's L-E-W.
Yes.
Yeah. As in short for Lewis for his last name.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we're going to go into our Weird of the Week segment, and then we're going to get ready to wrap things up, because I know we both kind of want to catch the end of Elimination Chamber tonight. So,
yeah, seriously.
Again, we're wrestling fans, as we
Absolutely.
proved earlier.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to go into the Weird of the Week.
And now, next levels Weird of the Week.
All right, we're going to keep it kind of short. There's only a couple stories. I think 2 stories we have tonight. This one's coming out of Sugar Creek, PA. A big bag of weed was donated to the Salvation Army. An act of charity may have ended badly for one donor to a Pennsylvania Salvation Army outlet. Sugar Creek Borough Police say they were called when workers found a large plastic bag of marijuana among some donated clothes. The police chief tells the city he suspects the owner of the drugs has noticed them missing by now, if only because the bag contained a substantial quantity of pot. Police were working with store employees to determine who donated the clothes and when. Police say the drugs were found earlier this week. The chief says this isn't the first time officers have investigated an unusual item donated among clothing. He says we've had guns, cash, rings, and now marijuana. So, yeah, people need to check their pockets before you do. I check my pockets before I do my laundry. I'm going to check pockets before I donate any kind of clothing.
You may be donating a check. You don't know that.
Or I'd be disappointed if I accidentally donated like a $5. Well, not a $5 bill. If it's going to Salvation Army, obviously it's going to a decent cause. But a bag of marijuana, yeah, exactly. This one coming out of Milford, Iowa. I got a kick out of this one. Robert McEvitt fired for allegedly using a forklift to get a Twix candy bar from a vending machine. An Iowa man has lost his job and unemployment benefits for using a forklift to get a candy bar from a malfunctioning vending machine, state records say. According to state unemployment records released last month, Robert McEvitt, 27, of Spirit Lake, was working at Polaris Industries warehouse in Milford when the incident occurred last fall. McEvitt wanted some candy, so he deposited $1 into the vending machine for a 90-cent Twix candy bar. The Des Moines Register reported, but the candy bar got snagged on a hook and wouldn't fall. He banged the machine and rocked it, but that didn't work. So when that didn't work, he commandeered a forklift, picked up the machine at least 6 times, and dropped it about 2 feet onto the concrete floor. He got 3 candy bars out of the deal. He was fired about 5 days later. So McKevin told the newspaper recently he never lifted and dropped the vending machine, but did use the forklift to move the vending machine back into place.
It wasn't the fact that it was the other 2 Twix that he got actually fired for. It wasn't the one, it was the 2. You should have put it back, man.
He got what he wanted. You got greedy. You got too many candy bars out of that. And then there's one other story. I was going to leave it alone, but you know what? I don't think I can. Derrick and I saw this as we were going over the Weird of the Week stories. Just the title of this article alone is just award-winning. Blondie Bennett, and that is her real name. She is a Barbie-obsessed woman, uses hypnotherapy to make herself brainless. That's how bad she wants to be a Barbie. California woman who describes herself as Barbie obsessed says she uses hypnotherapy sessions in hopes that it will decrease her IQ. Something tells me that's not that difficult.
Well, first of all, how old is she again?
She's 38 years old.
She's 38 years old and she's obsessed with the Barbie doll.
Obsessed to the point where she wants to become a Barbie doll. You know, with the fake chest and the fake lips and everything. I just want to be the ultimate Barbie. I actually want to be brainless. Blondie Bennett, 38, told Barcroft TV, I don't like being human, if that makes sense. Natural is boring. I would love to be, completely plastic. Bennett has had 5 breast augmentations and other procedures in hopes of attaining her goal, but now she says she's undergoing hypnotherapy sessions 2 to 3 times a week in order to dumb down her thoughts. I don't think this is possible because I don't think she had a brain to begin with.
I think she's just about there. I mean, that's just about as weird. Hey, that's what Weird of the Year. Never mind the week.
She says it's working. I've had 20 sessions and I'm already starting to feel ditzy and confused all the time. She told Barcroft TV, although she loves her looks, her plastic features tend to turn off a lot of people. Yeah, duh. She said that her friends and family don't approve of her lifestyle. Bennett appears to maintain a not-safe-for-work Twitter account advertising live camera shows. Her handle, not surprisingly, and if you see pictures of her, it fits, is Busty_doll. I'm going to run right out and follow her on Twitter. Not really. I don't plan on doing that at all. So, yeah. But that's going to wrap it up for the Weird of the Week. And that's pretty much going to wrap it up for the show tonight, too. Derrick, I want to thank you again for coming out. This was, and filling in for Adam this week. It was awesome having you on.
Dude, I got to tell you, man, like I said, I always keep my commitments. And I said, well, a couple of weeks ago when you knew that, you need somebody to come in, fill in, I said, I come in, I fill in. I did. And it was a great time. And I think that, in this business, we always, no matter what, no matter situations, we always got to be there for each other because you never know. So
it's all about networking too, man.
Absolutely,
You and I are going to an event on Thursday.
Yes, we are. Thursday the 27th. With be somewhere in Philadelphia.
Yeah, the Republican House, I believe it is. For Philly actors and people in the entertainment business.
Absolutely. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah. So for you fellow actors that may be listening, come check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the show tonight. Check us out. Again, make sure you check out our website and subscribe to us on Facebook. Become a fan on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. All the links to that can be found on www.nextlevelradioonline.com. Follow us on Twitter at NXT Level Radio. Make sure you follow Derrick on Twitter at
The Real DT Lou.
That's it.
And you can also go to my Facebook page. You can click like, and you can go to facebook.com/TheRealDTLouActor. So you go on those two sources, and you'll be able to get all updates on acting, radio show stuff, and whatever comes to my mind.
Yeah. Be sure to check out his new show that's going to be starting on Tuesdays. You can find all the information on his Facebook page and on his webpage, which is DerrickTLewis.com. We'll have links to his page on ours as well. I'm sure you'll probably, and sometime once he goes live, you're going to hear some promos during the commercial breaks and things like that for his show. So we will constantly be reminding you to go and check out Derrick's show. He's obviously going to be a friend of the show for a long, long time. So that's about it. We're going to wrap things up, and Adam is going to return next week. Next week we are going to be going. It's going to be some live Oscar coverage because the Oscars are going to be on during the second half of our show. So we'll give you some live updates as we go along. Adam and I will recap our Oscar picks that we chose last week for the best for the Oscar-nominated pictures for Best Picture. I think we had talked about what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some songs that have some misheard lyrics as well. We'll get your opinion on a lot of that. So be sure to listen up next week. Remember, check us out, nextlevelradioonline.com. Check out Derrick, DerrickTLewis.com, and we will see you next week. Thanks again for listening. Take care.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah.